Welcome back, South Philly Sauce and Audacy Original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels, Ashlyn, Sullivan, Al Morganti, here on a Monday, recapping a full weekend of Flyers hockey, getting back into the swing of things post-holiday break and a big road trip in California. I almost said Colorado. In California. Much different state there. It started off on a high note.
Yeah, Colorado's not going to fall off into the Pacific Ocean, at least not for a while.
You'd hope not. Then we got some real problems. But the Flyers start off on a high note, beating Anaheim. They get that win to come back from holiday break. Then they lose to the Los Angeles Kings in a hard-fought game, back and forth, trying to force overtime. Couldn't happen. Definitely fell off at the end of that third period. So a lot to get into. You're 1-1 as of now on this road trip, but a lot more to go on this road trip. And they see San Jose Tuesday, New Year's Eve, and then that road trip gets really tough with Vegas in Toronto. But definitely the biggest story coming out of the first two games post-holiday break has been Matvei Michkov. He was benched in the third period in Anaheim in that Flyers win, to the point where we thought a pretty high possibility he was going to be a healthy scratch against the Los Angeles Kings. That did not happen. Torts went very in-depth of why he chose to play him still. And it speaks volumes, because normally when this happens, Torts says, well, I'm not telling you anything. And, it's my decision. But he had a very long paragraph to all the reporters in Los Angeles of why this went down, which speaks volumes that he's trying here. He's trying to be patient with him.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised that he didn't bench him, because after the game in Anaheim, you know how he can be really short when answering a question about a player that was, benched for the third period. He wasn't. He was more, just that's the way it goes or whatever. And we're going to talk to him. The interpreter was on the trip. So I kind of thought he's going to give him some leeway here. In addition, this is our last show of the year. I don't know how many of them have mentioned Michkov, even when he wasn't even here. It's like he's the show. And I think when you looked at what happened in Anaheim, they goaltender played well, but Michkov making those mistakes, I do think Torts likes the ability to show you what happened and have an immediate response to it. So I think he got the message across with the one period benching rather than in a game, and then having to answer that. Then that becomes like the whole story. Not just the team coming back and everything. It would have been like the whole story. And then it would have been the next game against another rookie coming up. It would have, to me, if he had really benched him for that game, it just would have been too many headlines and too many questions to answer, and other players answering those questions. So I kind of thought, just listen to the way he talked about him after that Anaheim game. You know what it's like. We'll sit there and go, oh, God, he's going to, didn't play well. That's enough. He was a little more human about it, I guess.
Patient. Understanding. And to the point where Michkov rebounded very well in one game against the LA Kings, and really the team as a whole, which is unfortunate that they couldn't get the win, because Torts did say post-game after that LA Kings game that he thought the team actually played a lot better than they played in Anaheim. And I think it's just the tale of their opponents, right? That the LA Kings are their stars for a reason, and they have success for a reason. The Flyers couldn't get it done, but overall, they definitely did play a much stronger game.
Yeah, and Torts has been around long enough. He knows that you can't really bury a team that's struggling. It wouldn't have done much good, I don't think, to really hammer him on that, because even Michkov, when asked about it, he was on the ice. That line was on for was like 4 goals, 2 goals, 2 goals again. It was like everything was happening when they were on the ice, good and bad. And it was the player himself, which is, I think, what most coaching staffs want. They want the players to tell you what went wrong and what happened, rather than you saying, "Oh, this was terrible." Yeah, they played a decent game. They didn't get big moments from certain people, or even their goaltender, who Torts thought played pretty well, Kolosov, but I thought could have made some big saves. But I think Torts now realizes that this team is it's a struggle for them, and it doesn't do any good to just we played a bad game and there were this many mistakes. I think he tried to point out the bright spots in the game.
Yeah, and there definitely was some. And I think as a whole, you mentioned just the struggle right now. And it's especially when you look at things are going right for some guys, like a Noah Cates. But when you look at the Travis Konechny's, for example, we haven't seen him on the score sheet in a bit. Joel Farabee starting to get going. But as a whole, your stars, quote unquote, haven't been playing the way we're used to seeing them play the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, they haven't. I mean, the Kate's line been basically their best line. TK was involved in that. Yeah, TK was involved in that terrible turnover. It was Zamula sent a hand grenade to TK, who tried to send a hand grenade over to Ristolainen, but it got intercepted, and it goes the other way. That's a killer goal, just an absolute killer goal. And that's that's your big guys that. It's nice to say your third line guys are playing so well, like with LA. Their Byfield, their third line guys playing really well, but it was their top guys that you had to depend on. It was Kopitar. Those guys are the guys when you're in crunch time. Those are the guys that you really lean on. It's nice when somebody else plays well for a while, but through the course of the season, those have to be the go-to guys.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now we look towards Tuesday, a big game for the Flyers to bounce back. And this is a team that is below them in the standings. We talked about the regulation wins. Al, you pointed it out in post game on Sunday that the Flyers only 8 regulation wins this season, but San Jose with 7. So that's pretty crazy to think about. But we all know the storyline is going to be Michkov and Celebrini. And these two players, these prospects in similar situations, both young, both a lot to learn, but Celebrini has been excellent so far.
Yeah, Celebrini missed some games, so when you look at the stats, it's kind of the same. You also have to remember, Ashlyn, this Celebrini. Now, not to discount Michkov, he's been terrific, but this kid's barely 18 years old. Turned 18 in I think June or July. He won't be 19 till the summer, and to come in and have this kind of impact, power play points, play in the middle. He's a real steady player. I mean, I watched him a lot in college at Boston University, and I wondered, can he really go to the NHL? He's so young, but he's gone in and he's been terrific. And he's a good defensive player too. I think a lot of the mistakes that you're seeing with Michkov and most young players, he's not really making those on a team that's not that good, which is truly something. When you watch Bedard in Chicago, you're all over the place. So, I mean, he's a very, very mature player, and a guy who looks like he really takes the coaching pretty well on where he should be, what he should do. And they're going to have it's a nice rebuild going on there. Now, they haven't won many games, but in this league, I mean, it's a crazy league. I mean, you look at the Flyers. We mentioned 8 regulation wins in 60 minutes regulation. That's half as many as the Rangers, who are 3 points behind. So it's you got to do it when the clock strikes overtime, or you get into that extra period or a shootout or whatever. So this should be a really good matchup here. And I think that Michkov likes these matchups. Who he's up against. Yeah, when he's this is what it's going to be like, and it's individual. But still, to say, I deserve where I got drafted up high. And you saw that last game, what he's doing from behind the net. It's become a staple to people watch that. Celebrini's more of a kind of standardized player on where he's going to go, what he's going to do. But boy, when you watch his defensive play for a kid that age, it's remarkable. It's not remarkable that some players can come up and play that way. It'd be like the bubble hockey guys go back and forth and just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. But this guy also does all the skills, and then when he has to, stays in his lane. So it's a guy that stays in his lane, but then when he hits the passing lane, he can go 1,000 miles an hour. So he's a pretty good guy to watch. This is a really good kind of an indicator of what you're going to see in the future when these two teams meet up.
Yes, definitely stars in the making, already stars. And I'm sure we're going to see both these guys have success 10, maybe more so years to come. So it's exciting on Tuesday that's going to be the matchup we're all paying attention to. But definitely some questions here. We know the center position has been a struggle for the Flyers the past couple of months, really. And it was a struggle that I don't think a lot of us saw coming necessarily. We know they don't know that star centerman, but it was kind of by committee. But who leads that committee is Sean Couturier, and barely played in the third period in Los Angeles. Noah Cates has picked up the slack a little bit, but Coots as a whole, you definitely have some question marks around that position now as a whole. Yeah,
the whole line didn't. I mean, much as Tippett can give you something. That line, I think, what you really saw there was towards playing the hot hand, so to speak. I wondered, but we were sitting there, and I kept saying, we're not at the game, and I'm like, wonder if Couturier's banged up or whatever, because not only just the ice time after the 10-minute mark or whatever, but there were key face-offs, with Kopitar, and I'm going, well, that's Cates or that's Paling going in and taking that face-off, where normally I would think late in the game to be, Coots gets out there and takes the face-off. But I think what you see here is, when coaches say players will dictate ice time or whatever, well, when you got a line going like that, Brink and forced to play so well, and obviously Cates, you kind of put him out there. I kept mentioning it, kept saying, where's Coots? Why isn't he out there at this particular moment? So, I mean, you can look at it, obviously from two perspectives. One is, what the heck? You got a veteran player like that up against Kopitar. Why isn't he there at that moment? Or, this Cates, let's see what we got. We're in a team in a rebuild. Let's see exactly what we have here. Is this guy actually more than just the third line centerman? Or, what do we have? Well, where is he in these moments? How can we count on this? Or Paling even on a face-off, whatever. So, I mean, I think what you see is a team really, they keep saying we're the number one goal is to get to the future and see what we've got. And I think that was a pretty good glimpse into how it's going to go, to see what we got. There's a lot of instances like this. Why isn't Andre here? Well, why are we looking at this? And it's like, I really think that when you look at it and you say, are they going to go, sell out to make a playoff run here because everything's so close? Or are they going to be really patient, see exactly what do we have? Let's take a look. And I think the default, again, is let's take a look and see exactly what we have.
Yeah, and it makes sense because the Flyers have been so honest in that situation that is the goal. So when you put it that way, it makes sense why you look at it like that. But definitely with the Flyers, the problem is that they are still in it, right? Even though it doesn't feel like that the past couple of weeks, it's very similar to last year that the Flyers are still mathematically right there in the thick of it, even though the result on the ice, I don't think we're seeing that exactly. But I think it's all going to boil down to Sam Ersson, especially the second half of the season. We saw him in Anaheim. We saw Kolosov in Los Angeles, probably going to see Sam Ersson on Tuesday in San Jose. And it was really important that Sam Ersson came back after getting pulled and had a great showing. He did, but it just has to be more consistent with Sam Ersson, who we know is coming back from a big injury with a goaltender.
Yeah, I think it was also just mentally to come back after that Christmas break. And he really, that was an important game for him. It was important both just the win and also down the stretch to make saves, to not let anything get through. That's why this one, again, this would really be a setback if he doesn't come in and play a strong game. And a game, I guess this would be a level, probably toss-up game, you would certainly think here going in with all the attention on the two kids we talked about. But the goalie can really be a difference here. I mean, this is where I'm going to really have a shot or not. Is he going to be able to be the number one guy that we need when there's mistakes out front? Is he going to be that guy? Well, the erasers usually for any NHL team for mistakes are the goaltenders or the power play. So let's forget that one eraser because it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. So it's got to be the power. Although on the power play, Scott Hartnell and I have been screaming to have Sanheim on the power play a little more often. And we saw he got a shot. He missed a wide open net on one power play late in the game or extra man late in the game. But I do think that it's better there. But even with that, your goaltender, look at the LA game. If Kolosov makes some really big saves, it's a whole different story. I thought he played okay, but the big save is the one that you're not supposed to make that can turn a game. And I think Ersson, we saw some of that in Anaheim. We have to see some more in San Jose, and then following through in those really two tough games that follow up.
Yes, the two games to end this road trip are brutal. So that's why Tuesday is so important against San Jose. A New Year's Eve matchup will be on NBC Sports Philly for all of that. So come spend your New Year's Eve with us. Thanks so much for tuning in to South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. We'll see you later on this week.